And from then, it's entirely about lyricism. It's entirely about vocal presence and performance.
Hey everybody, Zach here. Welcome to the ZHZ podcast. I'm your host. Matt Allen is our co-host. Matt,
Hey.
how you doing?
I'm great, Zach. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Show everyone your nails.
Yeah.
He's got red paint on his nails.
We're
wanna go ahead
recording
and
this episode the night of the University of Utah first football game for the season against Southern Utah tomorrow. So I got my game day nails ready. I am ready to tailgate. I'm ready to day drink in a parking lot, and I'm ready to lose my voice cheering for the Utes. So there we go, baby. You know what's up.
All right. And with us, we have a special guest. I've been waiting to, excited anyway, to have him on this show. He goes by the name of Vulpis and also Wolf. And he is someone who prefers to be incognito, so he's come up with a very clever way to animate while he stays behind this image. Vulpis, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
All right.
It's definitely probably not something you guys have dealt that much with.
No, I mean,
anonymity.
We're
it's
just
actually
getting
been
this
a series
podcast
of
rolling,
firsts.
man. But
Right,
I gotta
it's-
say, for you, just a few handful of episodes in, and we're already interviewing an animated fox. So I think that, I mean, that's Disney level shit, right?
Right, yeah. So,
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't tap dance around and sing about my my problems. I do sing about my problems, just maybe not as magically.
well, it could be magically to somebody. You never know, I suppose. But
Right on, man. So why use an avatar? Why instead of showing your face?
Mostly just because there's a couple of things. First, when I grew up, when I grew up, I was under the impression, especially when constantly I was told to never give a lot of stuff out on the internet, it kind of ingrained in my mind that I was like, I don't want to put anything out on the internet then if that's the case. And so over time, I just got used to being a name, like a username on a screen. And when I came to music, and I was like, I already don't feel like pretty comfortable on stage. I have done performances live before, but it's at least online, like on a parasocial level. I don't know. For some reason, it's just in my brain. I don't like being seen as things that I have no direct control over. So I can't control my appearance. I mean, I kind of can, but you don't choose the body you're put in. So
yeah, I get it.
In some ways, it's... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You can finish. I was just, I mean, I understand it. I get it. Like you have Daft Punk, who were kind of incognito for years before it finally came out, of who they were. But for a long time, they just wore motorcycle helmets. You didn't know who they were. And then you have Kiss, right? Kiss always dressed up, and so I get it. It's part of the thing. But now you also go by a different name as well, depending on the mood. Is that how I would describe it? Because you go by Wolf as well, right?
Yeah. So I don't really talk about this as Vulpis, just because I try to keep some of them separate. But my overall, umbrella term I use is DigiPsych. It's the place where I just put everything. And the idea of that sort of difference was because I was experimenting with a style of music I had never made before. And so if it bombed and it was shit, if can I swear on this?
Nope.
I already did.
Okay.
Absolutely fucking not.
What?
You
Yeah.
shouldn't,
So
yeah, is it? It's all good, man.
I was experimenting with a genre I haven't really done, and so if it was shit, then I didn't want to continue it. Like, I didn't want to like have that link back to my other stuff, and it's just like this crossbreed of just like negativity, which there's more personal reasons as to why I try to keep a lot of eyes off my personal life. But that's kind of the more overarching reason, is the fact that I was experimenting, and then from there were other projects that I started, and it started to become a real menagerie of just random things.
Because I've done some little bit. I've done some homework on it and listened to some of your catalog and stuff. And there's, you do a lot. You have a few songs on Spotify under both Vulpis and Wolf, I believe. And you also have some SoundCloud stuff, if I'm not. But there's this Star 67. Do you want to elaborate what that represents? Because I hear that in your music.
Right. Star 67. So Star 67 is the group that Wolf is a part of. Under that pseudonym, that is my group of friends, my collective, if you will.
Okay.
And it is, if I could describe it, it is a group of friends that make music.
First, like your collaborators, like
yeah.
So
we
you guys
frequently
do a
like collab
collaboration
with each other and make music together. So that's kind of the idea. I did think of it almost as like a more, I guess maybe like Wu-Tang Clan is the closest I can liken it to, but I'm definitely not on the level of Wu-Tang Clan.
Cool. All right. Well, cool. So what inspired you to become a rapper, and like who are your biggest influences in the industry that you just thought I want to do that? And just for real quick, explain to the audience what kind of genre you would probably call yourself. I know Vulpis is different from Wolf, so we can kind of dissect two of them, but we can talk about each one. So first of all, what type of genre? Because we know you do some rap, but what else? Like, what would you put that into like as a subgenre?
As a subgenre, well, to describe Vulpis music, the best way I've described it so far is it's not really like bedroom pop so much as it's like, I am really inspired by chiptune music, and chiptune music is basically just like video. It sounds very video gamey because it's basing it off of old sound chips that were present in old video game consoles. So very, very, very simplistic sounds, very basic stuff. And then combining that with the rapping aspect and stuff like that. So I call it chip rap just because that's the best way I can describe it. It's very nerdy.
That's all right. We're all a bunch of nerds, dude. We're like, look at all of us. We're all sitting on a podcast right now. It's about as nerdy as it gets, talking about music, about being nerds in music, So, can you talk about any specific moments in your career that you had to overcome, like self-doubt or fear, or failure even?
Does right now constitute as a time I can say?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're saying that being a
day.
guest on the ZHZ podcast is a low point in your...
No, it's just I don't think I've ever had a high point in my career.
Oh yeah, come on.
No, I don't know, man. I've seen you on stage.
Yeah, it's, how do I put this? Real time speaking though, the biggest struggle that I face constantly is the will to finish things that I start. So a lot of doubt can kind of happens when I make a project, and the way my brain works, I just go, get as much of it done as possible, and there's not really that much quality control. So I get it done as fast as possible, and I go to show people, and sometimes when I go to people in confidence, the feedback sometimes is less than stellar. So that to me sometimes is a little rough, but then I like kind of think about it. I'm like, well, I'll look at it again, and usually there's something I can tweak. And then of course I'll listen to the same song in my headphones over and over and over and over and over again, and then find, okay, this needs to be changed, this needs to be tightened, this needs to go.
Well, you're always
but
going to be your own biggest critic, I think. But the the points you touched on really, really can be said for, I think, just about any artist, any creator,
right,
because
correct.
inherently what we do is we're bearing a big piece of our soul and bringing it out for the world to see and ridicule and mock and love and enjoy. And it's nerve-wracking. It can be absolutely mortifying because it's going to be something that always means something to us as the creators of it. And
But I think sometimes the fear, I think maybe what Vulpus's case was kind of putting out for was like the knee-jerk reaction upon release is, oh, they're gonna hate it. I'm gonna get, like they're going to say this sucks, or it's not coming in with, like, maybe you have confidence or eternal confidence, but maybe you just assume that there's going to be this huge amount of critical feedback.
I think we're hardwired for that to a certain extent, just as humans too.
Right. You want everything, like, obviously, like, why create if all everyone's going to do is shit on it? Like, at that point, I wouldn't share any music,
I would say that in my case, even, it's like you're afraid of criticism, and then you get nothing but ghosts. Like,
Ghost is worse, I
Right.
think.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Ghost is the worst.
That has been my experience, is that it's lack of anything. There's no engagement.
Right.
And that, to me, is arguably harder than having someone be like, well, I hate your
shit
stuff.
sucks,
This is all,
man.
this is
sucks.
garbage.
Yeah.
Because then I can very least be like, okay, so somebody didn't like it. I get nothing.
But at least that person that didn't like it and shat all over it at least took the time to listen to it. You would hope.
Exactly.
Anyway.
No.
All
that
right.
means that they at the very least played the song.
So we're actually gonna come. We were fortunate enough to feature a few of the songs. I think we're gonna do 2 by Vulpis tonight, right? And then 1 by Wolf.
Yes.
We're coming up on the first one. I just wanted to ask, so how did you come up with the name? Like, how did you come about the name Vulpis and then later Wolf? Like, where was that? Where does the fox start for you?
Yeah. So, the name Vulpis is a play on the Latin word for fox, the I don't know, like taxidermy, like, not dermy, taxonomy. There we go. Taxonomy, like, name scientifically for fox is Vulpis, except it's depending, it can be spelled differently, like it can be an I or an E. It just
But why pick the fox? Like, is that like your spirit animal, or is
in
that
a way,
like,
yeah, kind of.
okay.
It's so I've just been enamored with foxes for a really long time. I think it was mostly just I did a project, and that, like, in school, and that was kind of how that interest started. And then
Okay.
it was like, from then I was just, and it wasn't really like anything crazy. It was just ambiently, it's just my favorite animal. Like, so if I had to give a very simplistic answer, it's my favorite animal.
Okay, that's cool. And then when did Vulpis? When did you start? Not just writing music, but writing music and putting it out there. Like, at least on SoundCloud or somewhere to the public, so that they could review it. Like, how long have you been doing this sort of thing?
So I've been writing music since like 2013. 2013 to 2014. I only started putting music out, though, officially, because I'd had like a release, and I actually used to go under a different name before I switched. I used to go by the name Static, but that's very long. Very
That
long
was your
ago.
first. That was your first endeavor.
Yes, that was my first endeavor. After that, though, I think it was like probably that the time that I actually started putting stuff out semi-consistently, like it was 2021. That was when I really started to actually write, produce, and release, was the year of 2021.
All right, so fairly recently then you just
Yeah.
started releasing music under the name Vulpis.
Yes.
We are going to do you want to introduce the first song, Matt? Do you have the show notes on there?
I do. So first track we're going to listen to is a Vulpis track called "The Wash." Give us a little background on this track, about this tune. What's it about? What were your inspirations, your mindset, your reason for writing?
So, this song specifically is kind of it's, how do I put it? It's kind of hard to quantify. How do you quantify art?
You don't.
Yeah.
You just don't.
But the inspiration specifically, like when I look at the lyrics, a lot of it comes down to self-doubt and like the things that you tell yourself. And also, like, I like the idea that it is a straight, like, there's a juxtaposition to the happy poppy sort of beat and the content of the lyricism. Almost like, and I guess in that way, I'm more or less saying, like, people can look and sound one way and then feel completely different on the inside.
Yes. No, when you said that, it just reminded me of an 80s band that, I mean,
it was Oingo Boingo, man.
Yeah, that, or even like the Smiths would do things
Right.
like where they would play this happy music and
girlfriend in a coma, I know.
Yeah, they'd be talking about their girlfriend
it's serious.
in a hospital in a coma because of a car
Man.
accident or whatever, and it's just this poppy music, like yeah, da da da. Yeah. So, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and start this. This is The Wash
Hey,
by
DJ,
Vulpis.
spin that record, baby.
All right, here we go.
To listen to the song, please utilize the streaming link provided in the description below.
Nice, man.
Damn, dude, I love that track. I really do.
That's on repeat. Sorry, hold on.
That's all right. I can listen again.
All right, man. Good job. That
Dude,
was
that
awesome.
that break in that when you come back in with a little beatbox action
Yeah,
is fucking
dude,
sick.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Thanks.
butter.
That-
It's
that-
butter.
that-
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank
Can
you.
we still
No,
say?
you kidding?
Is it still that slaps, or is that past now? I don't know.
Slaps.
You can use whatever.
Slamming, fire.
It's fire.
It's
No
no judgment.
radical.
But
It's
is it
cool.
Skibbity, Ohio?
Please
Riz?
don't. Please don't. Please don't.
It's not Skibbity,
I can't
Ohio Riz.
escape. I cannot escape the skibbity
Yo,
nonsense.
man, that's fetch. It's bibbity bobbity boo, you know?
That's how we feel.
oh,
That's how
man.
we feel when we talk that kind of stuff. What is it called? Stigma? Is that right?
Stigma.
No. I don't know. It's goat. There you go.
I think
It's-
you're trying. Are you
it's
trying to say
super
Sigma?
Good. Sigma. That's it.
Oh
It's-
my God.
You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like, I'm just gonna hang it up. Here's my hat. I'm hanging
You know what?
it up.
That's
You know,
why I
like,
stick
so-
with terms like groovy and bitchin'.
I can get down with groovy and bitchin'.
Right. Almost groovy is like almost new now. It's been around.
I never
so
stopped
long, you know?
using it, man.
It's called
so-
retro.
Retro. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we
So-
are retro, so
Right.
you know it fits. Well, that was killer, man. So, as you're thinking about your body of work and everything, is there a specific song or project that has a like really special meaning to you that kind of trumps everything else that you've done?
Yeah. So the song actually that's going to get played later, that song means a lot to me actually. Because it's kind of hard because it's like I kind of feel like I'm jumping the horse, like
Well, we
jumping
can
the
save
gun
the
here.
question for later.
That's great. That's great. We'll
Yeah.
save that since it ties into a track we're going to throw down later on. We'll just put
Cool.
that. We'll stick
Yeah,
a
because
pin
I
in
don't want
that.
to like throw all the history out
so,
and
like,
then be
do you-
like,
do you collaborate with other artists? Who who do you collaborate with? Is it the Star 67 posse crew? Dude, that kid has serious talent.
He does.
that actually has the Vulpis project in it, and that's called Adult Depression Club.
Correct.
It's
And that's how we are familiar with it because we had the opportunity to have them play with us when we were doing a show with Hooray Who at the Ice House in Salt Lake City, and
Right.
they totally killed it.
And
But
you guys have great chemistry. In fact, Zach and I were kind of mentioning to each other, it's because it's like, Zach and I have been doing this for years, and over those years, part of it was fate. It was just the universe. It was kind of definitely cosmic, but like we have developed definitely a chemistry. Zach and I now, on stage, we can like read each other. Like I know what Zach's gonna do before he does it. Same with Zach and me. I mean, we play off each other effortlessly. And I know we made note that night of like the chemistry the two of you have together. You can tell that it's kind of it's subliminal on certain levels,
Yeah, and it's funny because I met Jamato in high school, so we've been kicking it pretty much, and it was funny because like we had met, weren't really friends, and then it was after high school is when it was like it had been some amount of time, and then I randomly just started talking to him for fun, and we got to talking, music eventually came up, and I mean, hell, the rest is history from there.
yeah, no, I love that kid. If I can impart something that's when I listen to him do his rap style, it almost like to me, this is the impression I get, and you can share it with him, or maybe he'll watch it later. But
He'll probably watch this.
he raps when he raps, it sounds like it's almost like if you could close your eyes and visualize the rapping, he smiles while he raps. Like I don't know how to describe the way his tone.
I know what
or
you're
whatever.
talking about.
Yeah, like he's just like, like it's really cool. So for whatever that's worth, Jamato, love you, brother. I love your style, man. Like when he rapping, I'm just like I have to smile. I just have to, yeah. So anyway, we can carry on.
Would genuinely appreciate that. His whole thing is this is like his tagline is positive mental attitude.
There you go. I mean, and it's almost like a neon sign when he's rapping. I hear it in there. So that's awesome.
We are very yin yang, the two of us.
Right. So how do you guys stay motivated and inspired to continue writing? Actually, I could just be you, not just you guys, but how do you stay motivated to continue the process of writing, especially when you're faced with all of those sort of challenges of self-appreciation or no engagement, ghost engagement, as we were referring to earlier? Like, what is it that keeps you doing it?
My process is that I need to continue to remind myself that I'm doing this for myself. Because there was a period of time where I was starting to get some traction on the Wolf project, and it started to take over with how much I was trying to push it, because I was like, oh, I'm actually getting people on this, so maybe I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And I started to fuck up my body because of it. And
so explain to the audience what you mean by that. I know what you're talking about, but explain, because they wouldn't know it. Like what is he doing?
So on the Wolf project, you had mentioned before what kind of genres I do. On the Wolf project, it is hard rap, and I guess it's not necessarily scream rap, but I do very intense vocals.
It's like really aggressive, and so
it's
you're
really
straining your vocal cords to make that sound happen, right?
Yes,
Right.
and this is and of course this was happening, and I kept telling myself, I'm like, oh well, I just gotta, I'll eventually learn how to do it properly. I'll learn how to do it properly, but the workload that I was undertaking, it was constant abuse on my vocal cords, and so by the time that I had really noticed the damage, like there was a moment where like I felt like I was on a train straight to ruin, and I hadn't even shown up at the station yet.
Right, you were just
So-
getting started, and then all of a sudden your voice is not behaving. Now, have you thought about using sort of plugins to make that effect, or is it just because it's not genuine and
There
that
is
the
a
fact that it
certain
is a
quality
plugin that
that, and here's the thing, and what I've learned, you don't need to put your 100% into everything to get 100% result. There are multiple people that have told me since I started thinking and talking about this stuff. A lot of those the Star 6-7 guys specifically said, you don't need to do that every single time to make a good song.
correct,
And
or
it took me hearing that multiple times to actually start believing it.
right, or you be really selective instead of like slamming that through a whole song, or that way where you're just using it to accentuate a certain buildup in the song, and then you could back off. But okay. So do you still do stuff with Wolf?
Yes, all the time.
So you're still
and
actively doing Vulpis and Wolf stuff.
Yes, I am. I'm not going as crazy with Wolf as I have been. In fact, actually, I've taken a pretty decent step back from music because I was, frankly, I was getting burnt out. I was putting in a lot of my creative energy into stuff, and the things that I was able to finish never really went anywhere. And so to do that constantly, not really get that much return, and then on top of that, throw on my vocal cords not working with me, and a whole bunch of drama going around in circles that I was in. I wanted nothing to do with it.
I get it.
And so I've been taking a break, or like I took say maybe like a 2 or 3 month break just from all of it.
From Vulpis and Wolf, or just
all of it, like music in general.
Gotcha.
And if I ever touched a project, it was because I wanted to, there was a overwhelming creative drive for me to do so, and I just did not force anything.
Gotcha.
It's good. Good on you for recognizing the signs of, when you're straining your voice, straining your mental health, straining, everything good. That's that's a wise, it's a very mature move to recognize that and to have the wherewithal to be able to take a step back and not let yourself put yourself under any other pressures other than I've got to get straight with me.
Right, because it would show. Plus, and I don't think for me as an artist either, I wouldn't want to do something if I couldn't put everything, like my whole heart and soul into it. So
that's
if I was
my
just doing it, if I was just doing it because the routine, then it starts to feel like a job.
Well, ultimately, if you're not enjoying it, then what's the fucking point anyway?
Exactly. Unless you're getting paid to do it,
Yeah, but absolutely. But even then, it's like quality suffers and your whole
correct. Well, the
experience
passion
suffers.
on it suffers. Like you're like, somebody might say something like, "Oh, I love that song." You're like, "Oh, I hated that song."
Right.
Because it was under different circumstances for you mentally. It had nothing to do with them or their relation to that music. It may have very well been a great song, but because of your mental state at the time you wrote it, you're like, yeah, whatever. Like I could care less about that song.
So walk us through your process of writing, recording, and producing a song. How do you what is there a method that you'd find yourself using, a pattern as far as what comes first, what comes second? Or
say there are a couple, and so if I'm going to, and it's mostly dependent on how fast I want to get through a project to get to a part that I really have like a creative aspiration for. So sometimes we'll just start from scratch. When I start from scratch, my usual process is I go and I find either a sample I love or a pattern that I love, and I start there, and then I start to build it out, go for drums and stuff like that, then build a basic structure of like where I want things to go. And then from there, it's kind of those little embellishments, like adding a bridge section and then adding another instrument here to pull this out to make this a little bit more impactful. Maybe the song is less like a roller coaster and more like a ramp, right? So it gets more complex as it continues. I have a song like that does that. And that's the scratch method. The other method that I do is the beat is already made. And me and my buddies, we actually buy the beat from the
beat maker or beat
beat
creator.
maker.
Yeah.
And from then, it's entirely about lyricism. It's entirely about vocal presence and performance. And that is a very different mindset that I have to building everything from scratch. Because when I build everything from scratch, I can fit specific things into that beat that I know I can do versus someone else's beat where I'm kind of playing to someone else's tune.
So
essentially.
usually, let me ask you this then. So you don't normally purchase the beats yourself. It's part of your Star 67 crew that purchases the beat, and they're steering the narrative of the song, but you're collaborating with them. So it's like you wear a different kind of set of responsibilities or obligations that you feel when you're doing work with that type of music, or
Yeah, so just so I get to say this, I am the creator of Star 67 as well. I put that group together. So that being said, though, the members of that group, they're not producers like I am. And even within my own specific like solo Wolf work, there's very little beats that I have. In fact, I can only think of one that I did not produce myself.
okay.
That
So
is
this is not, it's
that-
not normal for you to purchase, not that there's anything wrong with buying beats at all. Like that's pretty common really. And that's actually a way for musicians to earn money too, is sell beats, if they can manage to sell. They're a dime a dozen, but if you can
I've sold
manage to
beats
sell
before.
beats. Yeah, so exactly. So, but your normal process, you create the beats yourself, or you use certain platforms to find the certain samples that you can use. If like Splice, for example,
yes,
is one that
Splice
you
is
use.
is usually my go-to.
And then what
when I
kind of
don't
DAW
have the
do you
money for
use
it.
to do it?
I use FL. I've been fiddling around with Ableton, but FL Studio is my DAW of choice.
Yeah,
I've
The
heard
Ableton's
all
different.
sorts of things
So-
about FL. I just personally like it. I've
think
heard
it's-
people sing praises for everything else under the sun.
So for
I
the
don't care.
for the non musically producing inclined that are watching the show, what is a DAW?
DAW is a digital audio workstation, so it's basically what you use to record or to manipulate sound in an environment where you have the tools to, structure out a song. It's specifically for song making.
Right.
And there's tons of them out there, but so when you hear us reference a DAW, that's what it is the platform by which we collect and record the music.
Right. It's the computer program. Most of the DAWs are almost always on a computer. They still have, analog studios where they have the big mixing rooms and record on the tape, or they'll even record actually on a DAW, even though it's all analog input going in. And like, we're going to have a guest coming up named Dave Hunsaker, who kind of does this mix hybrid of using analog gear and hybrid gear, which is really freaking cool.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so normally you use FL Studio is the one that you use for your main, and that makes sense because a lot of EDM artists and trap artists and rap artists will use FL Studio. So,
Yeah.
Ableton's different. The way their flow structure is, they go by like little blocks and cells and stuff. It's like more performance. Like
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you can still
you can still
record.
linearly, you can
Yeah,
still record
it's-
linearly, but
It's a difference, though. There's a big difference between
Sure.
those two.
and the software that I use, the DAW I use, is called Mixcraft, and it's only PC only, and it's because originally when I purchased it, it was a very full-bodied DAW, but it was cheap, and so I have since just kept with that since then, because it's my upgrades are like, less than $100 to upgrade to the next level when they come out with stuff. So it's always, you get to a point where you kind of stick with something because the DAWs are different. Most generally, they all do the same thing, but like there's a learning curve between one DAW to the next. And so if you keep hopping DAWs, then I feel like sometimes you're going backwards because you just got this learning curve to learn how to use it all over again. And then, but it's all about whatever works to keep you creative and keep things moving fast, you know?
I mean, I'd say if you're trying it for the first time, shop around a few DAWs, try some trials, and find one that works for you that you just understand, because
Right.
not everyone likes using FL or Ableton or Mixcraft or Cubase or
Studio One or Logic.
Studio One or like anything. Right?
There's a bunch, but yeah.
That's my advice, is to, if you're going to get into it and you want to actually do production on the computer, try some trials out, go and shop around, find things that look interesting, but
And there are
also,
a few that
like,
are also free though too. Like so you have BandLab, you have Luna, which is by Universal Audio. It just came out with their own.
BandLab a lot.
And you have GarageBand if you use an iOS device. So those are things and those are free. So I would start with those. And then like Vulpis was saying, you know, like you're gonna find one that you just, if it helps you flow faster, it helps you keep your create, because the last thing you want to do is have a creative moment where you're recording or you're coming up with something really cool and you want to record it or track it, and you're stifled or you're stumped because you're trying to figure out the process. And
That happened to me so many times.
I think everyone goes through it, but and you go through that, and that's you know, the learning curve, right? But once you get past that, then it's like keyboard shortcut commands, and you're just in it, and you're making progress quick. And it's hard to get to that point and go, all right, I'm gonna start a whole new other DAW. I'm gonna learn this process all over again. So I get it. Like most people stick. In fact, a lot of artists that, you know, big artists that you would think of, like Danny Elfman with Oingo Boingo, but he does his own orchestral stuff. You even have like bands like Martin Gore of Depeche Mode. I mean, they're using certain DAWs that they've used that they haven't even upgraded their DAW in like over 10 years because they're afraid that upgrades will cause them to change, you know? So in their heads, they're like, this works for everything I need. Why change it, you know?
Right.
So, cool.
Well, we talked about a couple of minutes ago. We were talking about how you'd kind of taken a step back, to you kind of take a break. You were feeling burnout. So, like, how do you use your music to address mental health and self-care, not only for yourself but for your fans that are listening to your tracks?
So music is very selfish for me. I usually, when I write my songs, and it's this weird thing that happens. I will write a song, have an idea for it. As I'm writing the lyrics and singing it and producing it and making it happen, my emotions are, I guess, not kind of on the same level as when I'm listening back to them. When I finish recording, like, there's been very, very few moments where my emotions are the same recording because during recording, I'll literally be singing some really depressing stuff. I'll mess up and be like, God damn it. It's like, if someone were to hear it on the outside, it just sounds like I'm trying to play like Blackbird by the Beatles. Okay. But it's not until I like actually finish that those kinds of those worlds actually finally do connect, and I do actually get something out of it. But music for me is a very personal journey, as I feel like it is for most people. Unless you're the kind of person that likes to just either do it for fun, where there's not really that many stakes to it. And by the way, I'm not saying the guy that makes party club music, that, you know, that's all he does and he enjoys making that because he likes going to parties and being a DJ. I'm not saying that anyone's music is better than anyone else's type of like process. If you like making music like that, that's fucking awesome. I love when people just embrace the sort of creative sides of themselves, because I'm a very, very big advocate for just creative freedom.
Artistic expression. So
Okay.
Um,
Right on, man.
so
Well, let's throw on another track. We're gonna switch things up a little bit. So this is the next track we're listening to is by Wolf, and it's a
boom bap.
you want to give a little bit of an introduction to it, or you just want to slam it?
Yeah.
All right.
Real quick. So Crush is actually a boom bap idea I've had. I wanted to do boom bap on Wolf for a decent amount of time. Finally got around to it, and I liked it a lot. So,
All right.
Righteous,
that's
man.
that's the intro.
All right. Okay. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and jam this track.
To listen to the song, please utilize the streaming link provided in the description below.
Man, that's badass, dude.
Blistering, man. So when you write rap lyrics like that, so you've got these lines written out, and then you kind of look at it and you listen to it against the beat, and you're like, shit, man, I gotta practice. Because how long does it usually take you from written to be able to spit those lines flawlessly for a
Flawlessly. So when I write lyrics, I do what I've been, I call it syllable counting. So I find so I have the rhythm of this specific song, and then I have a rhythm in my head. Dun da 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 da, and I'm just thinking, okay, so how many syllables can I fit in a section like that? And then I fit words, and sometimes I have to retool it constantly.
Right. Revise the editing.
I'm actually a lot the same way in writing rap lyrics. Is that I'll hear the shape, the rhythm, the flow of the syllables in my head, and then I'll just come up with words that match it.
Well, I will scat over a beat with no actual lyrics are going on, because I've tried to I've tried to freestyle before. I'm really not that good at it. But I will come up with sort of that rhythm, like Matt was saying, and then I will kind of think, okay, well, how can I fit this in? And I kind of take it as I go along. And as far as practice, how long it takes me to get it down, sometimes I'll record it, think it's trash, and then have to come back and record it again. And sometimes the time period for this is I have already made the song almost entirely, and I'm listening to it back like days later, and I'm like, I know I got to go back and redo this, because I've been practicing ambiently with the song, and so when I come back, it sounds 10 times better than when I did it the first time.
That's the hard part. Is producing something, you track it out, you bounce it to a listenable format, so you're walking around listening to it on your phone or through your earbuds or in your car or whatever. And since then, you've either come up with something new to add or you want to change. And as an engineer, that could be really frustrating, because then you're having to open up the session, making tweaks, and you try to get through that final mix down before you do a mastering session on it, because that's the worst. And then there's points where, for me anyway, and maybe you can probably relate, is there's just a point where you just have to, like, okay, it's as good as it's gonna get, because I gotta move on, otherwise I'm
usually I ever do just like a second pass. There's very rare times that I ever do like a third pass on a song once I've finalized it.
Right, because you just start beating it up at that point, like, and then it gets to a
oh my
point
God,
where
I have there's a song I made, one of my first produced songs ever. That song had went through like 30
revisions,
30 redos, like revisions and stuff, and then the song we're gonna play next has also gone through the gauntlet of revisions. In fact, this song is one of my oldest, and it's only just now getting released.
Yeah,
right. Well,
because you've been working so hard on it.
Well, it's funny too, because as you've got something down, and then you're listening to it, and you're like, oh no, this part, this line needs to be this, that, and then you always have. It's always nice to have that opportunity to go back. I mean, here's Here's the lyric sheet for a track that Zach and I are releasing.
Just released.
That just the newest Z Frequency track. Remember My Name, and it was like I thought I had this thing down. I thought this is how I want it, and then I'm listening. No, you know what? How about I'm going to scrap that whole damn line and I'm going to write something completely different.
Yep. But
And
that's what I mean. You could almost like theoretically continually to do that through infinity, And so at one point you got to stop and go, okay, I got to stop, let it be, let it breathe, and be cool with it, because you're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill it, or you get to a point where you're so frustrated and that you are working on it that you end up hating the song, and that's the last thing you want. So
yeah, no, I've experienced song burnout too.
right.
Yeah. Well, and you got to at that point you just stop listening to it, man, because it's like staring at the Cheerios box and suddenly the word Cheerios loses all meaning to you. It just looks like shapes. When it's just noise, you've got to take a step back because you're not doing the work any justice by continuing to hammer it out. Sometimes you get too deep, you've just got to reset the board and come back at it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pull off this question here. We have, it says, what advice would you give aspiring rappers who are just starting out in the industry?
Don't do it for money.
Which all of
is
them do. No.
So I have been around the underground scene for the better part of maybe about 2 years now. And you get every kind of breed of person, but the people I cannot stand are those that do it purely for clout chasing and money. And for those, clout chasing is just fame. It's another way of just saying like fame. They're chasing this pinnacle
that they've created,
of being successful doing the thing, and those kinds of people make music that mean absolutely nothing.
They're just doing it for the rock star status.
Exactly.
Right.
I guess some people like the money aspect of it, but if you were if you were creative as a drive for it and you're like, I want to get into this, my other advice is to just start making stuff. In fact, I have a small story. Jamato, he did not record when I first started talking to him. Loved music, had already written lyrics to tons of songs, but he never recorded because he was afraid to. And it took some pushing him to actually sit in the recording booth and be like, dude, just do it. You're recording this. You can scrap it. You can do it over again. You can do it as many times as you want until it is something you like.
Yeah.
You're not on a stage. You don't have to worry about it.
I would think that would be a good approach for something like a fear like that, is to be like, look, man, we don't have to keep it, and just let's hear you do it in front of the mic, pretend like we're recording it. We're not going to keep this take, and just tell them that. And let him do it and record it, actually do record it, and let him hear it back. And then if you have positive reinforcement, like from, let's say, you or whoever else is in the room, like, man, this is fire, dude. This sounds great. I don't know why you're afraid, then like, oh,
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So, and sometimes we get, like I'll have certain musicians come in and record, and, you just have to learn to break them down to where they feel comfortable. Because some of these musicians don't, a lot of this stuff is foreign to them, like all they've known is playing a gig. They could stand up on a stage and do it all day long, but when you go into a studio, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
It's funny because Jamato was completely fine doing stuff on stage. He was a complete stage body, but he could not record. It scared him a little bit.
Yeah.
Now he does stuff all the time on his own, but I had to like help him break that. And the thing is that's my biggest advice to people who are doing this by themselves, that don't have like a buddy or a friend to be like, to help them through this. My advice is to pick up something like BandLab and just start writing anything.
Yeah,
just start making.
It's gonna suck. when you first do it.
Your first stuff is going to suck
Right, but
bad.
The nice thing is you don't have to share it with anybody, you know. So, and you could do your entire career, you know, where you're writing music, especially if you're just writing it for the hell of it for yourself, right? Then you don't have to ever share it with anybody. I think for a lot of us, and you know, like for me personally, like I do get a joy out of other people having some sort of connection to the music, because I've learned that what a song means to me when I write it is sometimes completely different than the way they receive it, or whatever event happened in their life that song was there and representative, and it has a special meaning for them that is different from you, you know. And so I always had a hard time when somebody would ask me like, hey, what's that song about? And I'm like, well, what is it about to you? You know, like, what is it? What do you think it's about? Because that's probably a lot cooler than what it really was about, you know? And I have to put myself in everybody else's shoes, because generally speaking, my life for the most part is pretty drab and boring, you know? It's just like everybody else. So you have to like kind of pretend like you have a crisis when maybe you really don't.
Right. Shocking as it may be, when Zach was 16 and wrote Money Honey, he actually had no hands-on experience with hookers.
That's true.
This was all hypothetical hooker stuff.
Correct. And I never hit somebody over the head with a shovel.
No, you didn't.
Right.
You're telling me that you when you wrote Tommy Gun, you weren't actually in the mafia?
Correct. Right.
Well,
I mean,
I
as
was.
hard as it is
I
to
was,
believe,
but-
because, you know, I feel like I owned that song, you know. No, I never
For sure.
did. I couldn't even find a Tommy gun, you know. It's like, so. But right on, man. We're getting near the end here. We're gonna play one more song.
But before we do that, let the people know what platforms can they find your stuff on? Where are your socials? How is the best way to follow Vulpis, Wolf, Adult Depression Club, Star 67,
Any of it, yeah.
arsenal?
Right.
Hey, so I have a Instagram. I'll pull that up really quick. That is by the name of DigiPsych.
And then you go by Prod Vulpis too on Instagram, is that right?
Yes, I do. So, yep, Prod Vulpis. My Instagram for Wolf is WULF STXR67.
I'm not gonna be able to say that real fast, but yeah,
No, it's
they
fine.
They can stop and rewind it.
Yeah,
but that's cool.
it's
And we'll include links and
yeah,
everything here.
we'll have links in our description. Yeah, so if you,
yeah, you can find me on Spotify as Vulpis. You can see the name on the screen, I think, but it's VULPIS, and Wolf, which is WULF. And what other things do I got? I think you can also find me on YouTube, Prod Vulpis.
oh, do you have a YouTube channel as well?
Yes,
Okay,
I do.
so we'll put links to all of this stuff in the description, and especially on the YouTube episode, where it's where you can really dive deep into what we have from these guys. What streaming platform would you consider your home?
My home would like to say it is Spotify.
Well, okay, but I meant like a connection, like engagement platform is what I meant to say.
My engagement platform is Instagram. That is where
okay.
you will. That is where I am I am active the most. If you want to
So
send,
if a fan, because there are going to be
things to
some
me.
people that listen to this or watch this episode, they're going to want to really get into that. That's probably where you're going to find the most likely get engagement back. Then is what you're saying.
Prod Vulpis or at Prod Vulpis at Instagram. That is where my that.
Okay.
Righteous, man. All right. Well,
You're right
we're gonna dive into our last track, another Vulpis track called Envy, and this is where we stuck a pin in things earlier, and we're gonna bring it back. So, talk to us about Envy.
This song means a lot to me. This is one of the first songs I ever wrote. The lyrics are kind of a time capsule of how I felt around the time when I was kind of just getting started, and then also seeing people in the area that I'm in also reaching greater heights than me. And again, that's kind of where the name comes from, and feeling like I can't measure up to things, and it's, I guess, in some ways about comparison. But this song specifically, I produced the entire thing myself, and I just love it to bits.
Well, let's dig in, man.
Okay, so this is Envy by
Never before, I guess, heard by a wider audience, because it's only just been the people I've shown it to.
Okay, and the 6 people that watch our podcast.
Right.
Yep.
Actually, there's 20. There was 20 today.
All right.
Yeah, 20.
That's more than
We're
7.
moving on.
It's growing though, like there was only like 3 or 4 in the beginning, so it's getting there. And the great thing about like YouTube or Spotify for that matter is that as we grow, like these people are like, they're gonna go back on these episodes and check them out. And so anyway, yeah.
So hello, future fans.
Right. Welcome to the show. This is Envy by Vulpis, right?
Yes.
Envy by Vulpis.
To listen to the song, please utilize the streaming link provided in the description below.
Damn,
Dig
dude.
it, baby.
That's just, yeah. So much talent there. So
Seriously,
I mean,
man. Well,
yeah.
and your ability to I mean, the juxtaposition of the vibe of Vulpis versus the vibe of Wolf, it's insane. It's like that's super impressive, man.
I appreciate that, because I don't like them to feel like the same project. I definitely do like the idea that they are 2 separate ideas,
Right. Well, it's
even if they're connected by what I decide
because
to
it's
do with
one.
them.
It's actually one human being, but different personas. But yeah, like to me, like Vulpes is just pissed. You know what I mean? Like he's got anger issues. Where
Yes, he does.
Vulpes is not. Like that's how I take it. But
I categorize it like this: Vulpis is closer to me than any other project I have. I'm not really like it's mostly just kind of an avatar, but there really isn't anything more to it. There is difference of, I guess, mindset when I go into a Wolf song, because the things I talk about are things that personally like anger me, but it's not like I'm taking it from the idea of this is a separate kind of entity that is looking in and is dissatisfied with certain aspects of society, the rap culture and music and people and like random things like that. So
well, it's freaking awesome, man, and I hope our listeners completely embrace what you're doing and show support. And if you're listening to this, please go check it out. It is just phenomenal. It's amazing stuff. And as far as what Matt and I do, we, part of this podcast, and what I think is pretty neat about it, is that we are able to bring in these do-it-yourself artists like yourself, and we hope that we just bring awareness. I mean, obviously, we have a circle that we're reaching, and hopefully that just starts expanding outward as more people come in. And so we want to say thank you for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Yeah, I personally know you very, very well without
We've
going
been
into
following
details.
your career very closely.
Yeah.
We will be
So-
following your career with great interest.
Right. So
I
anyway,
know where you live.
right. So if for those of you who don't know, Matt and I are also in a music project called Z Frequency. You can go to zfrequency.com and check out our stuff as well, or sign up for
Should
a
do that.
mailing list. And
The Z is
what's
for
next for you,
Zach.
man? What do you got? What do you got going on?
What was that?
I said, what's next for Vulpis? Just
I
a break?
am still working on an album. I'll get it out eventually.
So are we. so are we. Right.
I think that should be the title of the album. We'll get it out eventually.
Right.
In fact, actually, if I may be so bold, Envy is the first track off that album.
So there you go.
Excellent.
All right,
Yeah.
man. Well, I'm excited. You got to come back. You got to come back and do this again.
Well,
It's definitely, I'm gonna say this is the first time that we've ever had a show with an avatar, but I love it. It worked. So,
hopefully it wasn't as stiff.
it's a little stiff, but I think it'll work out. You know, I don't think anyone's gonna judge you for it. So
That's what she said.
Oh
Yeah.
man, we
All
never
right.
we never grew up.
That's the
Vulpis,
crew.
so,
That's all right. Well,
yeah.
It's good. Neither did I.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So
We have
our
that in
next
common.
episode, we are going to be featuring another close friend of mine. He's an audio engineer. He's an amazing dude. He's got his hands in a gazillion different projects. He's been doing it just as long as I have, if not longer. I don't even know.
I like to call him Big Sexy.
Yeah, we're gonna have Dave Hunsaker on the show starting. That'd be our next episode. So
Do you think
I
Dave's going to take off his shirt at some point?
Well, there's a good chance he just might be wearing a tank top, you know. But anyway,
Chances are high.
So be sure to stay tuned for that. Like
Full
I said,
frontal nudity next time on the ZHZ podcast.
right. So until
Prepare
then,
to get striked off of every platform.
yeah, no, we don't want that. Like we said, it'd be like leaving before we even got started. So,
Absolutely.
all right, man.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Vulpis.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Thank
It's
you.
been fun.
Peace
All
out.
right. Peace.
For tuning in. Vulpis is indeed a formidable presence. For more information about Vulpis and the Z Frequency podcast, please refer to the links in the description below.